I know a whole lot of people who could benefit from hearing the message of hope, that you ain't got to live your life doing dope. Yeah, you may be blind, you may be deaf, you may use a wheelchair, but if you try to live your life one day without using dope, you can find your way to truly give back. I'm an odds beater. I'm blind, I'm black, and I stutter. I am a recovering crack addict, crack junkie, whatever you want to call me. The biggest challenge I ran into was finding something that I could do independently as a rural blind person. I was introduced to Synergies Work, and one of the most important things that I learned from RT straight off the bat is that you need to be specific and find out what is your purpose and what you enjoy doing, and that other people could benefit from and be willing to pay for or trade for. Third Eye Radio Network is what I came up with after some directing and being asked some specific questions that nobody had ever asked me. The Eye to Eye program helped me narrow down my plan and to gain focus on what specific niche could I serve that also would keep my interest going. Just as a point of reference, I was reading an article today where 50 House of Representatives up in Washington sent a letter. Third Eye Radio Network is designed to offer information to people with disabilities, information about getting wellness, mental wellness, so we can make better choices about how we want to live in the community of our choice.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Synergies Work, stories that bring us together. Wasn't that an amazing, amazing story of Tootle? And you will get to meet him in a few minutes. This is a new program, a new set of conversation that we are launching right today, where we are bringing amazing business leaders together, people with from different walks of life, who sorry for the echo. People from different walks of life who will come together and share how they connect through Synergies Work and entrepreneurship. But I'm getting ahead of the game. What is Synergies Work? Synergies Work is a nonprofit organization that supports entrepreneurs with disabilities build sustainable businesses. We are one of a kind, the only organization, the only incubator accelerator that supports entrepreneurs with disabilities. And we provide mentoring, business education, money, and personalized program supports to our entrepreneurs so that they can launch and grow their businesses. Today, we have with us three amazing business leaders, Carrie Stimmel, Stancil Tootle, and Ashish Thakur. And before I introduce, let me just start by introducing each one of them so that they can give a brief description of themselves and give them an introduction to themselves. So let me begin by introducing Carrie Stimmel. Carrie?
Hey. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me, Artie. I'm really excited and thrilled to be here. My name is Carrie Stimmel. I was introduced to Synergies Work and Artie through a coworker at NBC Universal, and she said, you have to meet this woman, Artie, and she's a real dynamo, and we became fast friends, and that started my journey with Synergies Work, and now I mentor Tootle, who you will meet shortly.
Yes, let me also add in here and make an announcement that Carrie is our newest board member to Synergies Work. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you.
And along with this, I welcome Ashish Thakur, our board chair.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm not just the board chair, I call myself the chief volunteer officer for Synergies Work. My mom is handicapped from her stroke, and I love entrepreneurship. So I've been helping Artie for the past 4 years, and I will be helping Synergies Work for the next 40 years. So welcome, everyone.
Hi, welcome. Thank you, Ashish, for that. And finally, Stancil Tootle, who's the founder of Third Eye Radio Network.
Thank you, RT, and good evening, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stancil Tootle, and I'm from Bainbridge, Georgia, and I am the owner of Third Eye Radio Network. And thank you all for joining in with us tonight.
Yeah, so even before we get going and have this conversation, I just want to take a minute to introduce myself and describe myself. My name is Arti. I am the founder of Synergies Work, and I'm an Asian woman with black hair sitting against a gray wall with an orange color painting behind me and a blue colored crab on it. I'm guessing this crab is the most well-traveled crab in the world because he goes with me to every meeting. So, yeah. And Carrie and everybody else, if you could also describe yourself for all our listeners.
Okay. I'm Carrie Stimmel again. I have blonde hair, light skin, and the car is in the background of that car, which I bought because I thought it looked a lot like Detroit, which is where I grew up. But it's a Mercedes, which you would not see very often in Detroit.
Okay. Tootle?
Once again, my name is Stancil Tootle. I'm a good-looking black man, from what I have been told. And I have on a plaid long sleeve red and white shirt and National Federation of the Blind of Georgia baseball cap.
Awesome.
And
Ashish?
Yeah, sure. I'm originally from India, 45 years old, salt and pepper hair. Luckily, I have hair. I'm not going bald, which is great. My wife loves that. And I am sitting in my office, which is a yellow painted room with my kids' art in the background and kind of a beach theme.
Yeah, and I know, Carrie, you are joining us from New York, and Tootle, yes, you are joining us from Bainbridge, Georgia.
Right, from Bainbridge, right.
For the viewers who might not know much about Bainbridge, Georgia, can you just give a
small... It's the other New
York. We have less than 27,000 people. Only have, we got 2 grocery stores.
Okay, so here we are from Atlanta, New York, and Bainbridge, Georgia, all together. Okay, so here we are. So can you share, Ashish and Tootle and Carrie, what brings you to Synergies Work? What brought you to Synergies Work, really? How did you get to know Tootle?
Ladies first.
I think that would be me if we say ladies first. Okay. As I mentioned, there was a coworker of mine. Her name is Claire Johnson. She is a real dynamo on the NBC Universal team, and she came to me because they were looking for speakers. Artie was looking for speakers for a panel, and Colette thought of me because my son is on the autistic spectrum, and I share pretty openly about that at work. I think he's made me an incredible leader, and if it weren't for my son, I don't know. I don't think I'd be half as good at my job. And so she thought of me, and that's what connected me to Synergies Work initially. What kept me was Artie and people like Tootle and Ashish.
Well, Carrie, how did you first meet Tootle?
How did I meet Tootle? Why don't you guys say what brought you there first, and I'll tell you how I met Tootle. I would think I was a bit of a stalker.
Well,
so yeah, go ahead, Ashish.
Yeah, what brought me was what I said in my opening statement. My longest time mentor, Harish Montani, introduced me to Aarti about 5 years ago. And it just made sense to me with humans with disabilities and entrepreneurship. I live in both those worlds, and that Synergies Work,
That's right.
title, it just made sense. And now it's becoming, it's become our family's top priority to help execute the mission of Synergies Work, and to help Tootle, help the board members, help every constituent inside Synergies Work.
Thank you, Tootle.
And what brought me here is that I was a mutual friend of me and Aarti, Stacey Ramirez. I had been talking with her about I was trying to create some type of employment. And I was living in a rural area, and COVID was active, and the options were very limited. But I had told my friend that I wanted to create a consulting service, and he told me about RT and about Synergies Work, and she suggested that I apply. And is that my echo?
Yeah, I think we do have a little echo going around this room. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we apologize for the echo.
Yes,
I do have a little echo going around this room. Yeah. But so it seems like we all were introduced to Synergies Work by someone previously in our circle. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
So
previously in our circle. So
that's right. I'm sorry for the echo in the room. I think it's just kind of settling in now. So please excuse this. Coming back to the question that Ashish had raised earlier, let me pick up that thread here and say that both, Carrie, you were part of the I2I program, which is our unique 8-week session where we bring in business leaders to take the cohort through different stages of business organization. You were one of the guests. Tell us what has, and then that's where I guess you connected with Tootle as a mentor and a mentee. Tell me share a little bit about some of your most distinct moments of building this mentor-mentee relationship, both of you.
So I'll start. You invited me to the I2I program, so I got to hear many of the entrepreneurs pitch their ideas, and it was an active working session, which I loved. And when Tootle spoke, and it wasn't for a long time, but I thought I caught the message, and it was basically one of recovery and one of hope. And immediately I said to myself, and shortly afterward to you, Aarti, that's the guy I want to be with right there. Like I want to hang out with that guy. And Tootle has been in recovery for how many years, Tootle?
31.
31 years, almost twice as long as myself. But I also entered into the wonderful world of recovery over 16 years ago. And I knew in my heart that Tootle and I were meant to be matched together. And I felt very strongly, I believe that our challenges are our greatest strengths quite often. He inspired me from beginning, from the word hello. And I knew we spoke the same language. I'll say that. And that was where it began for me.
Tootle, what are some of your favorite sort of mentor-mentee sessions with Carrie? I'd love to hear some highlights of that, because you guys go deep and you have some long conversations. And
we was scheduled for a 30-minute conversation.
Yeah,
It turned into over 2 hours.
So
yes,
and when you come to find out, that we had so many things in common, and also based on our both active life in the recovery process. We've traveled down the same roads in several situations, and we both have a passion for assisting other people who choose to walk our path. And like I say, that scheduled 30-minute call turned into 2 hours. And usually with the other few conversations that we have had, one of us wind up saying, I didn't mean to talk this long.
clearly there is a lot of connections that I know, and there is something more that is happening between a mentor and mentee relationship in terms of supporting each other through it. Would you like to share some of those?
One thing I just want to say too, I think both on paper and by looking at us, I think a lot of people would say that, would guess that we have nothing in common. And that's what I truly love about Synergies Work and partnering people that seemingly you may not think would end up together. And I think that's where great ideas happen. I think that's how great business is produced. I think, there's no accident that companies are finally really leaning into the DE&I initiatives. And that's because it makes companies money. When you put people with very different backgrounds together, there are more similarities than differences, except for ideas. And you get different ideas, which is the ultimate goal, I think, all the time.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you have a white woman in New York, a black man in Bainbridge, and what brings us together as a unifying force is what you two have in common is that struggle and that challenge. And I'd love to, for both of you to kind of double click on what brought you together was that struggle and challenge. So Tootle, tell me more about why did this conversation go from 30 minutes to 2 hours?
Careful, Tootle.
Well,
easy.
Well, it is. I think it's centered around basically about the recovery process. When you find another individual, just like I said, who have walked down the same road or the same path you walked down, we just found that camaraderie straight off the bat when it comes to the and I hope I can say this on here, but we were allowed to walk out of a world of chaos, and we have found the good life, and we was once in a burning building, and we both have been freed. And
I would say, I think another bond is we both stay in the solution. And I think that's what's going to make us great business partners, Tootle, and is the fact that I think our common bond in terms of our challenge and then the fact that we both are committed to staying in the solution. And I think we both plan to apply that in a business perspective, because I love what you've started with Third Eye Radio. And I think that that can be taken to another level and place. And that excites me. Because I like making connections. I also like to watch people make money.
So I'm going to come back to you, Carrie, to ask you about your future business plans with Tootle. But for a minute, let me just take a break here and tell that we have this scrolling banner at the bottom, which is saying you're watching stories that bring us together right here. And for people who might have missed at the beginning because of the echo, we have these three amazing guests with us, Stancil Tootle, Carrie Stimmel, and Ashish Thakur, who are talking about what has brought them together. And how they're building synergies in their work. So coming back to your question, Carrie, where you just mentioned that you have some business partnerships. So this is more than a mentor-mentee relationship. So you're talking about doing some work together. Can you?
Oh, no, I probably misspoke by saying business partner. It's Tootle's business. I'm just offering the guidance. So no, I probably misspoke on that.
No worries.
Tootle's like, I didn't make you a partner.
She's a marketing. She's a marketing whiz, and I'm clueless when it comes to marketing, and I'm clueless when it comes to knowing how to advertise to the masses, and I'm also one of those type that's I got to learn how to make sure I get a fair trade on my services. I would give it all away without expecting anything in return. So in comes Carrie, and so
you mentioned you mentioned at the beginning that about some of in your movie, I think the film that we clicked, you talked about how getting a focus was important for you to set up your business. Tell us a little bit about the challenges that you have faced in setting up your own business, and also the good and the bad, both. What has been the journey so far for you?
Well, the major challenge was like when I first came to Eye to Eye. Well, we was in the midst of COVID, and when I first came to Eye to Eye, I was kind of all over about what I wanted to do. Only thing I really knew is that I want to help people, but at the same time, I need to make some income. And COVID, and as we all know, COVID had kind of locked everything down, and everything was going virtual or not existing at all. And the only thing I'm really good at that I think of, I know about addiction and recovery, and I know about people with disabilities. And through my personal experience, I know how, given the right information, an individual can change their life around. But I didn't know how to put that into a little nice box and put a ribbon on it and make money with it. But as a result of going through the Eye to Eye program, I've kind of been able to find my niche, and my niche is bringing wellness services to people with disabilities through sharing information and offering. I don't want to call it consultant or peer-based discussions. And because my peers, people with disabilities, we are not expected to be part of the recovery community, or we aren't expected to want to be well, I think. And so, so over the past year, and RT has been on me a whole lot about, let's be specific, and and she always said, we all got a gift and we all have a talent. It's just a matter of finding it and improving on it. And I know I've probably been one of her hardest cases.
Not at all. That you've been one of my superstars. Ashish, a question for you. We all know, all of us in this room know that people with disabilities are underrepresented in the businesses. There is no program currently that supports small businesses or large business owners with disabilities. What do you think we need to do to make things happen which are more equitable and support entrepreneurs with disabilities? Because you straddle both the worlds.
We're already doing it through Synergies Work, right? This is a niche that you have found that disability is not talked about inside diversity. But I think the number 1, 2, and 3 things is build your network of relationships. And I think that's the disadvantage many individuals have on different spectrums of the socioeconomic spectrum, where it's hard to find an attorney, it's hard to find a CEO that's done it before. But we can bring that in Synergies Work to Tootle, like we have with Carrie. So it's building Tootle's Rolodex through Synergies Work to say, hey, we have this relationship library. If Tootle needs a CFO, we can pull this book out, turn to the right page, and say, here's 3 CFOs that could mentor you at no cost, right? That's what I believe will help and can help. And, I've proven it before, and it does help to bring and build Tootle's relationship Rolodex as he builds his company.
I quite agree that relationships, I think, are the crux of all our worlds, whether it's personal or professional worlds. Yeah, just Carrie, do you have anything to add to this?
I think Ashish said it perfectly, extremely well. It's the relationships. I think, quite honestly, I think that the more big businesses that start to care, the easier it will make it, or the better it will make it for entrepreneurs as well. So while this is about really helping people with disabilities become entrepreneurs and start their own businesses, I think there are a number of large businesses and corporations that are getting this really right. And I think that only helps. And one I'll throw out there is Microsoft. Microsoft, I've become obsessed with Microsoft because my son, as I mentioned, is on the autistic spectrum, and they have created a program to hire people who are on the autistic spectrum. They specifically seek out job candidates who are on the autistic spectrum, and it is, for engineers, lab engineers, data scientists, analytics, everything you would think. And there's a company who's recognized that it's not a disability, quite frankly, it's a superpower. I always tell my son about his superpowers, and I actually feel guilty talking about him because he has come so far. And I'm always putting Saturday Night Live had Elon Musk on, where he announced that he has Asperger's. I think that was the first time he announced it publicly, and my son happens to be obsessed with Teslas. And so this was like a great moment for all of us, and just recently, and I've been slowly letting him know that he is on the autistic spectrum. We've talked about some of his differences since he was younger, but all this progress that I think we've made, he just recently said to me a week and a half ago, "Mom, please don't tell anyone." And here I am on a panel discussing, right? And so I get really conflicted and torn. But I think, that that the more you can see people like yourself achieving and doing great things, the more likely you are to strive to do those things, and the more likely we are all are to get involved.
You are just a proud mother, Carrie. That's why you're
I
saying
am
that.
a proud mother. I'm like, it's a superpower. What are you talking about? This is amazing. The world is full of boring minds. You want a boring mind? No, your mind is amazing.
I want to add something about what I think is unique and important and vital, and it needs to be expanded about the Eye to Eye program. I have been blind since birth, so I have been involved in some type of rehabilitation type programs for people with disabilities all of my life. And one of the things that I noticed when I went through the 8 weeks of the Eye to Eye program, I never heard RT tell any of my classmates, or I never heard her say during the whole time, "You can't." But in most rehabilitation programs, like I say, I've been blind since birth. I'm 58 years old. I have assisted several other people navigating the rehabilitation program. And it is common in rehabilitation programs for people with disabilities that the phrase "you can't" is used very often, and it discourages people. I never heard RT or any of her presenters use any type language to me or other of my classmates saying you can't do something. And for and like for somebody like me who's in a rural area and options are very, very limited, that was very refreshing within itself, and it really says something about what Synergies Work believe that people such as me and my peers, there are no limits on what we can do as entrepreneurs if we put in the work. And I think that also says a whole lot about RT.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree with you, Tootle. Completely agree with you. And when Tootle, you and Carrie were talking about your combined 47 years of recovery, I feel like both of you are like Navy SEALs. You go to the fight. Right? There's no you can't. It's all solution, solution, solution.
Yeah.
And you go to the fight. You don't fly from it, right?
Yeah.
And that to me is so inspiring when I hear both of you and your journey together. It gives me chills. And
in fact, you hit a very important point here, Ashish. As an entrepreneur yourself, isn't I believe the mindset of an entrepreneur is one who doesn't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
And here is one person like Tootle who's not taken a no for an answer, who's not let the limitations define who he is. And that's why I think people with disabilities and everybody who has that mindset are the people who will be successful more.
In my life, Carrie, Tootle, Arthi, Karen, Jabari, everyone who's on, I get told no 100 times a week between my wife, my kids, and my clients. That just means no, not right now. No, not today. Yeah. Eventually, I turn those 100 no's into 100 yeses. It might take time, but it's all about solutions, like Tootle said. It's not I can't. It's all about I can.
One last question before we burn up. All of us here in this room today either have a disability or have a loved one with a disability. Our task has always been to build a world which is all-inclusive and bring in more people who might not have a direct relation to a person with a disability. So how do we make Synergies Work more inviting and welcoming to other people also? Tootle, any suggestions?
Well, number one, like I said before, I don't like the word world. I like community.
Sorry, yes, the community.
Community to me means that I got a neighbor.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in order for the community to be at its best, it must include everybody in the community as equal. And so in order to make this whole picture work, to allow everybody the access and the opportunity to reach the highest potential of their choice, we must, I think everybody must have an open door policy. I'm willing to talk to you and I'm willing to listen to what you have to say whenever.
Okay.
Maybe I'm looking at things through rose-colored glasses, but the way we've been doing things ain't working. So let's try something different.
So listen to people. That's what you're saying.
Listen and be willing, like I said, to have an open door policy.
Yep, sure.
And the last thing is, just like with your program, I shouldn't be telling the next person what they can or what they can't do. I should be saying, let's see, can we get you the resources so you can at least do some more research rather than just being told no.
Yeah, I like what Tootle said is if it doesn't work, find another solution, right? I look at that with my kids. If they don't like broccoli, I'll give them a cucumber. At least it's green, right? Then we'll graduate to broccoli. So if it doesn't work, find another solution. And Tootle is exactly right. And that's his perseverance. He's like a Navy SEAL, right? He's going to find a different solution, go to the fight, and solve the problem.
Carrie, any thoughts on how we can welcome more people into our community?
More people. Yeah. Well, okay. I'm always going to say marketing and advertising, right? So
I wonder why.
But then you have to, and it's not just marketing and advertising. And I think a lot gets done with word of mouth too. And I think it's how we engage other people. And first of all, I find this to be such an easy organization and such an easy thing for anyone to relate to. And the question I think we can ask is, if you ask anybody, have you ever been underestimated? Have you ever been underestimated? I think most of us could answer that question, yes. And you ask them, did anyone give you a chance, right? Was there anyone along your journey that has helped you or given you a chance? And I think most people could say yes to that too. And I think that's what happens often for people with disabilities. I think they're wildly underestimated. And I also think that programs like Synergies Work can give that extra introduction, the extra relationship, the extra, whatever it is that someone might need to become an entrepreneur. And so I think it's about making that emotional connection to others and appealing on an emotional level for corporations, because I think that for Synergies Work to expand, and I think that is a huge part. While I think everything starts with one step, and it could be just one person helping one person, I think that has a gigantic ripple effect. And so while Synergies Work is really based in Georgia right now, I think that the ultimate goal is to expand that beyond Georgia, right? And so then we're going to have to get corporations involved and people that can donate money and commit to this organization. And again, it just goes back to makes great business sense for everybody. And I always, I say, you can do it because it's the right thing to do. right? People, it will make you feel good. It is the right thing to do to support an organization like Synergies Work. But you can also do it because it makes great business sense for our community.
Right.
It's very
right.
good for our community. And then if we can spread that to other communities and create a real ripple effect that has a massive impact on our society. I don't mean to be too lofty here, but I think that this has the power to really do a lot for society at a time that we could use it.
Yeah, I think you're right, Carrie. To get it in the hands of corporations is the way to scale. Is one avenue for the way to scale.
Yeah.
I know.
I like to scale things.
Yeah. Yes. Sustain scalability. Those are the two things.
Ashish, the last 2 minutes, is there anything else that you might want to share about Synergies Work or something that you would like to say to the audience?
I just want to give a shout out to Brandon Chase Cantrell, who's also on the call. He's been an amazing supporter and mentor and inspiration. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him. I think everything has been said. I don't want to, kind of repeat everything. I just really love this unifying force between Tootle and Carrie that gives me so much inspiration to see this diversity and this chance for these two opposite ends of the hemisphere to work together and to find this commonality in humanity and to make Synergies work. So I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Tootle.
Yes, I would like to just say thanks to all of you for joining us today. Thanks to our interpreters who have been super helpful, our sponsors, Zen Business and Sign One News, who make this production happen miraculously. I also want to let people know that we have this banner running at the bottom since today is the Giving Tuesday. And we are asking you, if you want to donate, you can text SW to 202-858-1233 to donate. We are a little short of our target that we had set ourselves at the beginning of this day, $1,000 short. If you want to support us, do that. We are expanding to new cities, as Ashish and Carrie mentioned. Thank you, Maria, for joining us today. We are going to bring these conversations and highlight our business leaders every other Tuesday at 6 o'clock. I want to make every Tuesday a Tuesday of celebration of our entrepreneurs. So join us next Tuesday. We have 3 business leaders coming together: Alpa Sutaria, who is a board member; Daniel Abadi, a voiceover artist; and Susan Holman, his mentor. And that'll be one other amazing story of seemingly different people from different walks of life connecting together through Eye-to-Eye program. Thank you again, everybody, for joining in today. Have a great evening.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.